the press conference with the Epstein victims today. And I did watch it. I listened to Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ro Kahana, and all the victims. And I want to talk about it. And you guys can let me know in the chat your thoughts about it. And I imagine I'll be covering this in the morning, taking some calls on it too. Okay. A few things about the press conference, okay? I watched, first let me talk about the Epstein victims. And I don't think I'm alone in this. I do believe the victims. I believe the victims. I believe them in what they said. Their stories were very moving, and some of them are dealing with lots of trauma that is really almost like a disability to them. But here's the thing about it. What really was the point of that press conference today? What was the point of it? The victims, they said they want the Congress to release all the documents, all the names. Their lawyer, the male lawyer, not there was a lady lawyer and a guy. The male lawyer, what he said was very interesting takeaway that's kind of been lost in all the coverage. When they were taking questions from the press, they were asked about a list. And their lawyer, he said there is no list. And he was very specific about there being no list. And what he said was, he said that the girls were victimized by Epstein, and then at some point, if they got older, he would farm them off to friends, but there was no list. That the list is a myth. That's what the lawyer said today of the women at the press conference. I thought that was a very interesting thing. But what was the point of the press conference? That's really what I want to talk to you guys about. I'll tell you what I think, and you can share your thoughts in the chat. Now, before I tell you what I think about it, I want to tell you that I do believe the victims that spoke today. Do you guys believe them? It was pretty emotional, and I do believe the victims and their stories. No doubt about it. They were very specific in a lot of what they said. They are dealing with different levels of trauma and emotional damage and everything. You could see that with them as well. So I thought they were very, very believable. But here's when I ask you this question, what was the point of the press conference? This is what I mean. I understand that they want Congress to pass legislation that President Trump signs that'll release all the files. And they want all the names released and everything. But they did not give any names. They know who the people are. And I heard the lawyer say, well, you know, if they name names, they could be sued, right? And I get that. However, not everybody involved are the most powerful rich people in the world, like Marjorie Taylor Greene said at the end. Because what they also talked about, and Marjorie Taylor Greene made some reference to this too, it wasn't just rich people that victimized them. It wasn't just Epstein, right? They said it was their chefs, the cleaning ladies, limo drivers. There was one sick instance that Marjorie Taylor Greene told, where Epstein abused one of the girls when he was out on work release from jail with an ankle monitor with a police officer outside the door. And I'm curious, what police department was that? So why were none of these things named? And I know a lot of influencers are doing a lot of clickbait stuff saying, well, Clinton was named. Clinton was named. The Epstein victims did a joint interview with NBC News. All right, was it Casey Hunt did the interview on? I think it was Casey Hunt on NBC News. She asked them two very specific questions as a group. Did any of you see Bill Clinton or President Trump do anything inappropriate? They said no. And then she asked the same question about President Clinton. They all said no. The one girl in the press, well, she's a woman now, but she was a girl then, was on the flight that Bill Clinton was on, but she wasn't abused by Bill Clinton. So they cleared Bill Clinton, but a lot of people, oh, Bill Clinton was named, Bill Clinton was named. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this. You guys can let me know your thoughts on this, but isn't there some fatigue about not getting the names? They know who some of these names are. Also, a lot of these things happened a long time ago. Kate Johnson, is that who did the interview? A lot of these things happened a long time ago. Quite a long time ago. It's hard for me to believe that they don't know the names of everyone involved. The limo drivers, the chefs they talked about, the police that were involved outside the door when he had the ankle bracelet on, because so much of their lives are about this. And again, I believe their stories. I believe that they were victimized by Epstein. I'm not questioning that. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But since their lives have been so consumed by this, they've done nothing but read and research this from the beginning. From what, and a lot of the court records have been available to them, I'm sure. The court records in Florida had to have been made available. A lot of the Maxwell trials been available to them. Their own experience, they know names of people. So why didn't they name the names of anyone? I know Marjorie Taylor Greene said the most rich and powerful people in the world, not the cop that was outside the door. Could they at least tell us what police department he was with? You can't attack the government for not releasing the names when they won't release any names. And with so many years passing, do you think that it's quite possible that somebody that was involved in this is dead by now? And if somebody's dead, you can't slant. So they could mention a name of that person. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene said if they would give her names, she'd go on the floor of Congress and read every single one of them. See, and that's another thing. That's a very important thing. Congress makes the laws. So Congress makes the laws to benefit the members of Congress. When a member of Congress in either house is speaking on the floor of the Senate or the House chamber, they can't slander. You can't go after them. They can say whatever they want about anyone when they're on the floor of Congress speaking. So if they would just give her the names, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she read them on the floor of Congress, nothing could be done about it, because they wouldn't be able to prove who gave Marjorie Taylor Greene the names, and she could never be compelled Marjorie Taylor Greene as to who gave her the names, and she could read them on the floor of the Congress, and they haven't done that. So how can you complain that the Congress won't release the names, that Bondi won't release or anyone won't release the names, when you know the names, and you could give them to us in that press conference, or give them to Marjorie Taylor Greene to go and read on the floor? So, I mean, I find it frustrating and rather exhausting. And their stories were so, I do believe they were victimized, but their stories were so vague. What do you guys think? I mean, were you a little disappointed by the press conference? Do you have any fatigue with this? And I saw some of the photographs of Marjorie Taylor Greene where she was standing with Roka Hanna and these guys. And behind Marjorie Taylor Greene were all these anti-Trump protesters that were holding up these signs saying things that I'm not going to repeat right now, but that were just vile about President Trump. and I'm a little pissed at Marjorie Taylor Greene for allowing herself to be in that position, right? She had security there. If you saw, Marjorie Taylor Greene had security remove one of the guys that was asking questions that wouldn't stop. Remember, she said, escort him out, get him out. Marjorie Taylor Greene could have moved so that those guys weren't behind her. She could have moved where the victims were. She could have moved where the press were. She didn't have to stand there with those guys holding those terrible signs about President Trump behind her. So I'm not happy with Marjorie Taylor Greene for allowing that to happen and getting those positions. Now, I don't think that Marjorie Taylor Greene, a lot of people think Marjorie Taylor Greene's on the outs with Trump. I don't believe that, because her boyfriend, Brian Glenn, is in the White House press corps. President Trump always calls on him. And if President Trump was really pissed off at Marjorie Taylor Greene, he wouldn't be so nice to her boyfriend. As that, now that's what I think. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not. So I don't think she's on the outs with Trump. But I will say that, you can't go out there and say everyone's covering everything up when you won't name the names yourself when you know who the people are, because you're one of the victims and you saw them there. Now, another thing I'll say that I kind of, because I paid very close attention to what the women said. I wanted to hear what they said. I was more interested in what they were saying than what the politicians were saying and what the media were asking. What they said about, the one that said the thing about Trump said that he was bragging that Trump was his friend, that he was close friends, and he had a picture of Trump on the man. At the time that was happening, President Trump had the #1 show on television. Now, President Trump's always been famous, but I think people forget how famous he was when The Apprentice was on. When The Apprentice was on, Donald Trump was like the top A-list television star in America. It was the #1 show on NBC television. It was a big deal. And if I remember correctly, wasn't it on Sunday nights, The Apprentice? The Celebrity Apprentice, was it on Sunday nights?
But Epstein would throw out names that was part of his recruitment.
Yeah. So you got to understand this. President Trump was the #1 star of television. The Apprentice was the #1 show on TV, on NBC. So it was a big deal. So what Epstein was based on what I've heard from these girls, he was a name dropper.
Yeah, a name dropper. Exactly
so
right.
So
and that was a big name.
Exactly. So if you name drop someone who's the #1 guy on TV at the time with the #1 TV show, that's a normal thing to name drop. It was no indictment of President Trump.
Well, part of his whole thing I got from it today was that these women were promised like fame and fortune. They were promised they were going to be actresses. They were going to, like the story of, the girl getting off the bus and she, gets promised she's going to be a model and all this. So he would use these names to say, I know this guy, I know Trump, I know this guy.
Yeah.
I'll get you a meeting with them. These are the people I know. It was part of his grift.
Exactly.
To rope these girls in.
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
Trump didn't know he was doing that.
Somebody in the chat said Ted Bundy had friends. Actually, it's a good thing that one of Ted Bundy's closest friends was the crime author, Ann Rule, that wrote the book about him, right? The Deliberate Stranger. Was that what it's called? Deliberate Stranger?
No, The Stranger Beside Me.
The Stranger Beside Me.
Deliberate Stranger was the Mark Harmon movie.
Oh, okay, yeah. The Stranger Beside Me. Ann Rule was friends with Ted Bundy. She had no idea, right? And she wrote the book.
She worked with him.
So I've never heard anyone say Ann Rule was in league with Bundy because she knew him, But who's to say that Trump really knew? In fact, Epstein's lawyer in an interview recently had said that Epstein thought that Trump turned him in to the local cops in Palm Beach and was pissed off at Trump.
I think he did. He was working. The lawyer today said Trump was working with them, and helping them. And I just think what's happened is everything's gotten so convoluted and blown up out of proportion.
Exactly.
That it's not what people think it is.
Yeah. But the biggest takeaway there were two big takeaways for me from that press conference. One, the victim's lawyer said there is no list. The list is a myth. Okay, and the other one was how the victims refused to name anyone, and I find that a little troubling. You can't complain that no one will release the names when you know the names and you won't release them either. And I'll tell you something. Those victims are telling the truth about being victimized by Epstein, no doubt. And if they got together and gave names, they would be fine because they would have such public support behind them. Anyone who tried to sue them or do anything to them, it would not go over very well because the women are so believable and have so much support. And I was going through a lot of the comments on social media, and people are really, really aggravated with the women. You got so my question is, what was the point of that press conference? Can you tell me what was the point of that press conference? It was other than we got to see that these women are victims. You could tell there was too much trauma. Some of them more trauma than others. Okay, you know. And I did believe, you know, they would, some of the things they said about Maxwell and everything were very believable. But what was the point of that press conference? What did they hope to gain from that press conference?
Almost like, and I hate to say this, just that they're using this hype to get something accomplished. I'm not sure what. Like, it was a big letdown. I mean, when I heard there was a press conference Monday, I was like, everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is me. And then the one girl came out who has a podcast who said she was a victim, said, we're going to make our own list, but it's going to be confidential, and we probably won't release it. Well, I don't understand what the hell they're doing. It just, you know, they keep telling us there's all these people, there's all these horrible things and all this stuff, fine. But this is the way it is. If they want Trump and the administration to be transparent, why aren't they being transparent? Why are they being so secretive too? Somebody has to shine a light on this, and that's their, I think they should do that, but they, for some reason, so Marjorie Taylor Greene made them an offer they should take. And let's see if they take it. She said, give me the names and I'll go on the floor of Congress and read them off. That is a win-win, because then you don't know who gave her the names. Nobody can sue her for that. They can't sue them. Why don't they do that? If they don't take her up on that offer, then that's very strange to me. And did any of the victims today, did they say they were victimized? I mean, by when I say victimized, I don't mean like the cooks and the drivers and stuff. I mean, did they mention that these famous men or powerful men they saw, that they were forced to have sex with them too? I only heard them talk about Epstein, right? That's right.
And remember, they all said in the NBC interview that they didn't see President Trump or Clinton do anything inappropriate. Even though the one said she saw him on the plane, she didn't see him do anything inappropriate, President Clinton, and they didn't see President Trump do anything inappropriate either. I mean, those are the victims speaking. That's the primary source here, you know. And I do agree that they were talking about oh shoot. What's the name of Trump's attorney? That's the deputy attorney general that interviewed Maxwell in the prison. I just remember his name, the tough guy.
Todd
Blanche. Okay, I do agree with them about one of them said something about Todd Blanche. You know what they said is Ghislaine Maxwell's a master manipulator, and because they were manipulated, and so the thing she was telling Todd Blanche was textbook Maxwell manipulation, and that he's not up to speed enough on the details of the case to counter her manipulations. I can believe that. I can believe that. You know.
Well, why did they move her to that facility? What did they get out of that?
I mean, we don't know why.
That's, you know.
We don't know why.
I don't think anybody knows.
No, we don't know why she was
There's
moved.
A lot of hype. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of things going around. It's like the JFK thing. It's getting to that level where there's, I mean, you know, all kinds of rumors and pointing fingers and this and that, and there's no there.
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing about the press conference. Like I said, and I know you guys, we all believe the girls, the women, okay? Very credible and everything. But we already knew that. We already knew that women had been victim. We didn't. I hadn't seen them before. I haven't seen them before because maybe you guys have if you follow this all the time. I don't know. But we already knew all that. What we wanted were, everyone wants justice done. So if they asked the lawyer, one of the reporters, I couldn't tell who was who with the reporters too much because I saw a guy from Fox, a guy from CNN, but you really couldn't see the reporters and they didn't identify themselves. But so I don't know which one asked. But one of the reporters asked their lawyer, the victim's lawyer, if there were any current high-ranking people in government now who were victimizing these girls, and he refused to answer the question. He said, "I'm not going to answer that."
Exactly.
He didn't say
I
yes.
almost feel like
He could have said yes without naming names.
exactly. I almost feel like all these women were victimized by Epstein only, and they've heard rumors of girls being trafficked, but nobody other than the one who died, Virginia, who made allegations. Maybe that's why they're afraid. I don't know, but they need to stop having press conferences and things like that with nothing. I mean, how many press conferences have there been between Pam Bondi and this and that, and nobody is saying a damn thing? I don't get it.
I mean,
people are really getting tired of it.
The victim said that they were victimized by Epstein and Maxwell,
Right,
But
nobody else.
they didn't. None of them said about being victimized by other people.
Because maybe they weren't. Maybe they just have heard of people, or maybe there was just the one who's not here anymore.
Yeah. When President Trump was talking about with the Polish president today was this, when he says it's a Democrat scheme that's going on. With the Democrats and you guys got to understand something. The fight that the establishment Republicans and the Democrats have against President Trump is always going on behind the scenes, and President Trump with his cabinet, Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem and others, and Tulsi, they're going after these deep state actors that have been going after him as well as other people too, and anytime there's pressure put on the deep state, I see a lot of Epstein stuff on social media and everything. It's like a deep state tactic to start dropping. They want President Trump to get bogged down in this, and these never Trumpers would like nothing better than for President Trump to invite the victims to the White House and have a meeting. And they want him to get bogged down in this. They want
That's
to
not
make
gonna
it
happen.
see. This is what they've told themselves. You have Trump's in his second. I know I got the Trump 2028 hat, but they don't see 2028. So what they're telling themselves is this: this is his last term. He's term limited out of office. Anything we can do to slow him down or bog him down will stop his agenda. Everything they're doing is to try to slow down and stop his agenda. And they do things all the time that sometimes you don't even notice. Like, as an example, on the Sunday shows last week, when they asked J.D. Vance, "Are you ready to take over?" They're trying to create this thing that J.D. Vance is the heir so that they can portray Trump as a lame duck and the future's J.D. You understand what I'm saying? Everything they're doing, you got to understand something. Whatever President Trump does, whether it's the big, beautiful bill, shutting down the border, the war on crime, taking out this drug boat, all these things he's doing are big things. And they shot him in Butler to try to stop him from doing all of this. I was talking today about taking out the drug boat from Venezuela. That's amazing. And we've heard this crap about the war on drugs, since President Reagan. Have we ever seen a military strike on a drug running boat like that before? I've never seen that.
Yeah, some reporter was all upset and asked J.D. Vance about it today, and he's like, it's a terrorist organization. They're bringing drugs into the country.
Poisoning people.
End of story.
That's right.
But, with the Epstein thing, I just kind of realized that what they're trying to do, I think, by keeping this narrative going is, you're right, they're trying to focus on that so you don't focus on all the good that Trump's doing. But in their mind, it's a way to delegitimize him. They even have people in MAGA saying, yeah, that's all great, but what about Epstein? Well, that's all great, but what about that? You know what I mean? It's a way to take away from Trump all the good he's doing, because they keep thinking this is the Achilles heel, that this is the one thing that he doesn't do right. It's all bullshit.
But remember,
it's a
all
hoax,
of
like he says.
all of those victims in unison were asked by NBC News, did any of you see President Trump do anything inappropriate? They said no,
That's right.
altogether. And then the follow-up, or what about former President Clinton? No. Remember that.
So there you go.
The victims cleared Trump and Clinton today in the interview. And that's it. Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. This is, without question, where MAGA comes to talk. So I'll be taking calls on this in the morning, and a lot of other things I'm sure will have happened between now and then that I'll be covering. But make sure that you subscribe if you're new, and click the notification bell too. Yeah, I mean, I would have been very, I would have loved them to name names, wouldn't you? Who would not want to have heard them name names? Right? You know, everybody wanted it. And I thought, the news conference, what was the news? New. And when I talk about, take the S off, new, what was new? What did we get that was new, that would fit the definition of news? Nothing. In that press conference? Not a thing. Not a thing. Maxwell's in prison. And you can debate how comfortable it is. I don't know. Prison's still prison, but it's nicer than the other one she was in. Okay. And Epstein's dead. Right? Welcome, Edward. So what came out of that press conference that was new? And I watched it. I wanted something to be new. I really did. I really, truly did. And I know you did too, because none of us want to see... I know Democrats are defending crime in these blue cities, but we don't want to see victimizers running around victimizing people. But nothing came out of that press conference. It was a big publicity stunt. In fact,
people need to let it go.
It sounded like
move on until something new, really new, does come out.
It sounded like, to me, you know what that sounded like to me, that press conference? I'll tell you what I was thinking when I was watching it. It sounded like the lawyers and press agents are trying to get some book deal going on, or something. That's what it sounded like to me. There was no purpose to that press conference whatsoever. I'm sorry, no purpose to it. What do you guys think? Now, you've heard what I thought. Do you guys agree? Yes or no? And
I don't know
what are your
Marjorie
thoughts?
Taylor Greene is doing.
I don't know.
Even Laura Loomer just called her out for being at an anti-Trump
Exactly.
event.
And what was she wearing today? It was a strange outfit she was wearing. A little strange. Yeah. Yes, please subscribe. Thank you. Welcome to all the new subscribers to the channel. No, there was nothing new in that press conference, which was the whole point of the press conference, and they had hyped it up for 2 days. I was shocked that they didn't have more.
It wasn't like the one Trump had with Bill Clinton's accusers.
My goodness.
That was good.
Yeah, the Bill Clinton, in the first campaign, that was a beautiful one.
Those women talked.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Definitely not like that.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly right. Well, listen, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. I'm Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll see you next time.